Claire. Thank you
Morning.
for morning. Thank you for agreeing to do this interview with me. I
No
know it's
worries.
Monday, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. So we're going to keep this interview relatively short and sweet. So I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions about your experience in Beijing so far. You're currently in Beijing, which I'm sure many students are really curious about. Our situation there and everything. So it would be really great if you can share with us about that in a bit. But first of all, can you tell us about yourself? So like where you're from, what major you're studying?
All right, so my name's Clare. I'm 36 years old. I originally applied to study for a major in international journalism and communication. However, this semester I changed departments. I'm now part of the International Business School at BFSU. I'm now studying international management, which has been a challenge so far, shall we say.
A challenge also.
Because that department, all the students are foreign students, and very few of them are in China right now because the borders are closed. So we have to do a lot of group work via Zoom meetings or via Tencent meetings. It's just very hard to coordinate those.
In your opinion, you would say that online classes is not the best in general?
So if your classes rely on a lot of like live classwork, so negotiations or presentations or things of that nature, then in-person classes are definitely better.
Right. Okay, so one of the most asked questions to internationals in China is why China? So why did you choose to study in China?
What's the most foreign place, as a British person, what's the most foreign place I could think of? Literally the other side of the planet. Well, Europe, I like a challenge. So Europe would have been too easy for me because I already speak some French and some German. So yeah, I kind of wanted the language challenge as well. I wanted a change in culture. I also wanted to see the country for myself because you hear about China a lot in the news. It's always very biased, like Red Scare rubbish. So I wanted to see what it was for real.
That's really interesting. So how's your experience studying at BFSU so far? What are your thoughts on the school and the courses?
It's been fine so far. I mean, I think the quality is very much on the par with like the standard level of British universities. However, it's so much less expensive to study in China than it is in the UK or than it would be in the United States, for example. For how it works out for me, so 1 year of tuition fees in the UK is £9,000. I can get 3 years of tuition fees at BFSU, which is one of the more expensive universities in Beijing, for that price. So, from a financial standpoint, it's a no-brainer, really.
What about the quality? Do you think, does it match up to courses in the UK?
I haven't been to university. This is my first university experience, so I've got nothing to compare to. However, some of my classmates, they're doing split degrees. They do 2 years at their home universities. One of my classmates is Canadian, so they do 2 years there and then 2 years here in China. And they find it, pretty much on a level playing field. So
wow. So a popular question from international students nowadays is when can students go back to China? And we're just really waiting for official announcements. So we don't have certain answers for these questions at the moment, but we're thinking that in the meantime, maybe Claire, you can give us an idea about the current situation there. You're now in Beijing, so maybe you can describe how life is like there. How's the COVID situation? What's maybe different now as compared to before the COVID breakout?
All right, so regarding the border situation, so I think it was in March that China closed their borders to foreigners coming to China. So the only people that could come in were Chinese people repatriating, coming back into the country. The borders are still closed. However, I am hearing word of students from Tsinghua University being able to get their visas. So I think things are starting to move. However, I'm not sure what the situation is regarding quarantine for people coming back in, because before, with Chinese people repatriating, they had to do 2 weeks of quarantine and they had to pay for their quarantine. So it's 2 weeks. It was working out a lot of money. So as a student, that would be beyond what you could afford. I'm not sure if those quarantine things are still in place because certain countries still haven't got their situations under control yet.
That's true.
Whereas things in Beijing, I'd say 97-98% normal. The only places that masks are required now, public transport, so subways, buses. If you use a ride-hailing service, so Didi or their competitors, they ask you to wear a mask. Some shops ask you to wear a mask, but it's just that. I mean, there used to be very strict testing and tracing going on using the mobile phone apps. That's stepped down a little bit now because from the reports, Beijing hasn't had a locally transmitted case, in about 75 days. The last one, there was a child at one of the international kindergartens got it. But yeah, nothing. So people generally aren't worried about the virus here anymore. And from friends that I have in different parts of China, so in Shenzhen, in Shanghai, they're reporting very much similar things. The cinemas opened up 3 weeks ago again.
Okay.
Events are going back to normal. Later on today, I'm off to a big tattoo event. There's going to be thousands of people. So obviously, because of the close contact between the artists and the people getting the work done, masks are needed for those. But for the general public, they might ask, but there's a lot of people and they're being super, super careful.
Wow.
But generally, people aren't worried.
That is a very big difference compared to so many other countries.
I'm reading and I'm watching about the state of my home country, England and the UK, and just how much things are different there. I'm so glad I didn't panic, pay a crazy amount of money to fly back and get stuck in that, because it's so much easier to get a test here, right? Because you can't get tested very easily in the UK. Whereas here in China, I live in Chaoyang district, so I go to the big Chaoyang hospital, no appointment. I pay my 120 RMB. I get my results the next day.
The next day?
Easy, so easy. Because
Amazing.
that was a requirement when I went back to the university campus to sort out all my courses. I needed to get tested before that happened. But yes, they've got that pretty much sorted now.
Amazing. Yeah, last question. Do you have any advice for students, like, for example, students from the United Kingdom or students in general who are considering to or planning to study in China? Or maybe like what would be the piece of advice that you would give yourself if you could talk to the Clare that was just about to leave to China?
Okay, if you're coming to China to study, a lot of bachelor programs or higher than that programs, they require you to pass HSK 5, which is the Chinese qualification, as a condition of graduation. So if you can learn some Chinese before you go, A, that will help you towards your graduation, and B, that will make life so much easier for you. My first few weeks here trying to figure out how to read a menu and then ordering the wrong thing because I couldn't understand. So yeah, try and understand some Chinese before you get here. Chinese food in Europe and in the US is not like Chinese food here. You're used to Cantonese food, which is down the south of China. Being able to tolerate spicy food, different chilies here. So in the UK, I'm used to a lot of spicy Indian food, and I'm fine with that. But coming here at a level of spice here,
it's different.
No, it's pain. Yeah. It's so much pain.
Especially in Beijing, actually, like the spicy is this numbing sort of a spice on your tongue.
I like the numbing spice, but I've been down south to Nanning, and that was just rough, like very spicy. It's like, no, can't do it.
Actually, I was wondering, like, before you came to China, you didn't know like a single word of Chinese?
No. So European, so yeah. French and German, a little bit of Dutch. I had no reason to learn Chinese. Me coming to China was almost a spur of the moment, I'm gonna go. So yeah. Something I will say to get used to, in a lot of large Chinese cities, it's almost cashless. You're not gonna be handling cash a lot. You're always gonna be paying with applications on your mobile phone. So if you walk out of your apartment without your wallet, it won't matter, because this is how you pay for things. So get used to that. Always make sure your phone's charged.
Yeah, that's for sure. If phone's dead, you're pretty much doomed, actually. All right, so I think that's all for this interview. Yeah.
All right.
Once again, thank you so much for spending your precious Sunday to answer a few questions that, these are really important information for students. So I hope you have a great rest of the weekend.
Okay, well, take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.